Welcome everyone to today's online event put together by some of the European chapters of Women in Aviation International. My name is Melissa Strome. I am president of the Scandinavia Chapter of Women in Aviation International.
Great, thank you, Melissa. Thank you so much, and it's fantastic. And I look forward to a lot of these joint events with European chapters and everything we can do to our members and not only members but ourselves as well. So I'll start. Hopefully it works with. Let me see. Sorry, Melissa. You can keep on talking about WAI or something. I just need.
No problem. For those of you who haven't seen on our social media pages, some of the European chapters have decided to work together to provide more opportunities for more members across Europe. So we're bringing you these online events. We're trying to make sure we have at least one per month, but it can be a lot more than that as well. Next month we might actually have quite a few. So just follow us on our social media if you want to see when we announce new events. And yeah, it's something that we're working together amongst the chapters in Europe. If you don't have a chapter nearby you, that means that you can still come to these events so that you still have the opportunity to network and to socialize with other people in Europe. And if you don't have a chapter nearby and you are hoping that a chapter will start nearby, you can also send me a message in the chat or by email if I've emailed you previously. Because I know that Jessie at headquarters is working very hard at supporting some new chapters starting as well. She's mentioned a few of them to me. So if you don't have a chapter nearby right now, just send me a message and I can forward that information to Jessie. Are you all set, Kristina?
I think so. Okay.
It says it started. It's just taking a little time. Oh, there it comes.
Can you all see this?
Yep.
Okay, great. Excellent. Thank you so much, Melissa. And it is, like I said, it's wonderful that we're working together with the European chapters, and we're hoping that there will be many more to come in the future. So for this one, Scandinavia Chapter and Riviera Chapter, and lovely to meet you, everybody. I'm not sure how many from Riviera or how many from Scandinavia, but anyway, my name is Kristina, and I'm trying to get forward with this presentation. Okay, so excuse me. So for the short agenda, I prepared for some slides, something about my story, how I started in aviation, and what I'm doing at the moment, and some tips for some young people if anybody's interested in becoming a pilot. So obviously, I think this one is for pilots mainly. Of course, with Women in Aviation, we are working with so many different sectors, so it's not only pilots and cabin crew. So for the agenda, I'll talk about my story, how I ended up in this beautiful sector, a little bit about for the future aviators, about aviation sectors, a little bit about training, scholarships, my tips, and questions and answers. So there we are. Anybody want to guess what this is? There we are. So this was my question. What do you think? Well, it's obviously an old Piper there, isn't it? Well, it's me doing my work. First walk around an aircraft with my little red hat there. This is my dad. We had nothing to do in aviation, actually. My dad is this guy here. They're going fishing in that Piper, and this is like late 70s, something like that. Very, very old picture. And I wanted nothing to do actually with aviation. I didn't have anybody in my family to do with aviation at all. But we used to travel a lot, and I loved airplanes, and I loved to go into the flight decks. This obviously was before 9/11. So I used to go there, and I used to see these old guys. They seemed old guys to me, just sitting there and having this beautiful view and eating chocolate, drinking coffee, and having this beautiful lifestyle. But I thought nothing of it. I thought, obviously, girls cannot fly. And I thought of other possibilities at that time. So I grew up in Spain. So my first passion, and I'm talking about my passions in life, not aviation at all. So it was to become a flamenco dancer because I lived in Andalusia.
Kristina, how old were you in that picture that you had shown before this?
Oh, the previous picture?
Yeah, in the previous picture.
I'm probably 2 years old, 3. I'm just able to walk. So probably very good for everybody that I didn't pursue my passion for flamenco. So the next thing, obviously, because we traveled a lot with my family, was to become a stewardess. They were so fantastic, fancy looking, beautiful, wonderful lifestyle. You could even catch DiCaprio. I didn't catch DiCaprio. So my next passion was history, and Egyptology was really, really my big thing. And I did pursue that up to the event that I went to California to study history, but then something happened in between, and I decided to start flying. So that's pretty much what I did. So I went to San Diego, study history. I met a lady one day. She had received her private pilot's license, and she took me up in a 152, and that was it. That was it. No history, nothing, no flamenco dancing or anything. And I within 2 months, I decided, okay, this is my destiny. I'll become a pilot, and I want to do it. And I've done it for the last 35 years. So I went to North American Institute of Aviation, which a lot of Scandinavians used to go at the time in Conway, South Carolina. Graduated from there. Everybody told me, don't go to Florida or California because everybody wants to go there. You won't find a job. Of course, I ended up back in California. So I had a really nice time, good jobs in California, Torrance Airport and Van Nuys. And I started flying helicopters at Torrance Airport at that time, which it was so beautiful. I totally wanted to change from fixed wing to helicopters. Then I started working because I had finished passport. So I was working for Euroflight in Helsinki for many years. 7 to 8 years, something like that, until they sold the Falcons, because I'm a Falcon girl. They sold the Falcon, and I ended up in Sønderborg, Denmark. Men jeg taler ikke sønderjysk. So that was very beautiful time, but then at that time, I thought I didn't finish my studies, so I was a little bit fed up with business aviation just because the rostering at the time is much better nowadays. But at that time, it was a little bit difficult because you had to be doing standby most of the time. So I did my business degree and art degree, but I wanted to, like we all know, it's difficult to get rid of the aviation in your blood, isn't it? So I wanted to keep my licenses. I went to flight safety, where I had been doing my training all along. And one day they asked, do you want to instruct here? And I thought, oh, no, I don't want to, because it's too technical for me. And you have to remember this was also quite a many years ago. And then I thought, yeah, why not? It's a good opportunity, and it's a wonderful organization, Flight Safety International. So I did, and I started instructing in Le Bourget, and it was fantastic. It was challenging, very challenging, but I learned so much. Next step was CAE, not in London, actually. It was in Burgess Hill, which is south of London, when 7X came out, and working with the French Air Force and other not that much military, but private aviation side on the Falcon 7X. Then we moved over with my family. We thought, all of a sudden, so we moved over to UAE. So Rizla came, I started my little Boston Sky company over there. I used to work a lot for Arabia and Sharjah until 2015. Yeah, I joined Emirates Airline as a 777 instructor over there, which was also a great challenge. On the right side, I have these three pictures, and these are my firsts, and these are a lot of firsts, which I hope that we are getting rid of nowadays, because we don't need female firsts anymore, do we? We shouldn't. I was the first female commercial helicopter pilot in Finland. The second one was the French Air Force, and with the Falcon 7X being the first instructors there, and the first instructors and first instructor at Emirates Airline on the 777. I wasn't the first female at Emirates Airline because it was a French lady, Isabel, a friend of mine, and she was on the 380 already, but I was the first one on the 777. So hoping that most of the first are done, or well, there's so many things we can do, but not that we should do so much history anymore, because we should have many more ladies in aviation already, instead of just talking about pilots, which is 5 to 7% in the world, and that's not enough. So my topic is business aviation here. So why I have this picture, Falcon 7X is my favorite aircraft. And Dassault does not pay me to say this at all, but it's really wonderful. And talking about business aviation, you can call it general aviation or private aviation, business aviation, VIP aviation. I don't know. There's many names. And when I was in the sector for about 20 years, it was quite different, I believe, what business aviation companies do nowadays. We used to do everything. I have examples of 3 in this presentation. which are quite, I would say, I'll show you. We used to fly medical a lot, so mainly to Siberia. So these are not my pictures, and I apologize that they are not very good quality, but this, could have been the day, like 20 years ago when I started flying medical flights. So we could have babies born, or unfortunately, some people would not make it. We used to fly for these oil companies, US and Canadian oil companies in Western Siberia. So very, very long days and hard days, but mainly very rewarding. Very rewarding when you come back to your destination and you see that you've done something extremely fantastic. Some of the things that we had to deal with, we did fly to war zones. This does not happen, not in the companies nowadays, not that much, at least. I wasn't flying in the Karabakh War in 1988, but I was flying for UN for the peace negotiations. Desert Storm 91, this was one of my first trips for Red Cross, and the Bosnia War, Sarajevo in 95. That was very, very difficult to see all these buildings being that way, but these are the happy days. These are the other side of business aviation. That was for me, and I'm not going to keep on this slide too long. I'm sure nobody knows who these people are, because this was like 20 years ago. This is a soap opera that started in the US called and I forgot. Bold and the Beautiful. Anybody heard of that? Anyway, I just wanted to show you my favorite passenger. Anybody know him? Martina?
Not really, no.
Melissa?
He looks
No.
familiar. I can't put my finger on who he is exactly, but he looks so
No.
familiar.
Anybody else?
Is he like the Danish prince or king or something?
Yeah, he's the future king of the.
Yeah.
He's a funny guy. Very, very nice. He was my way favorite guy to fly. Very down to earth, and I wanted to bring this up because he's Danish, and I love Denmark.
To be fair, I'm not from Sweden originally, so you can't hold that against me.
So, on a serious note, oh no, sorry, I have my pictures here. I told you, Melissa, that I'll try and find some pictures from my past. I didn't find too many. I actually then found a lot of pictures from women in aviation, international things that I've done, but from my youth, not that many. I'll go through them. This is my first night solo. The best thing is that I actually have a cigarette in my hand in there. I used to smoke. I'm sorry. Not very good. I'm not in a little Cessna there. Anyway, next passion was helicopters. I loved. And this little Robinson, I received my commercial license. That was so fantastic. This is not my picture, but anyway. And then next real passion, not the guy, though. There is a float plane there somewhere. actually, this is Rob. He runs one of the companies in Florida for float planes, seaplanes. This I used to fly many years ago, and this is taken in Lapland, having a little picnic. So I was taking my my license on float planes or grading. How do you call it? But I haven't flown float planes in a very long time, but it's beautiful. This is taken. This is the aircraft we used to fly, the Future King, EDS. Used to belong to Danfoss. That's the interior cockpit or flight deck, I would like to say. And one of my favorite pictures, is not very good either, but when I started flying in California, just to do cargo in little Pipers, nighttime cargo. Very big moment in my career to be declared a freeman in London, and afterwards to receive the livery position there. This was funny because when I received the little medal there, that I was called Brother Kristina. So, sorry, yeah. So coming back to the serious things, pros and cons for me flying wise, advantages and the not so good. And I'm talking about mainly the private aviation side. So obviously the travel, it's very different from commercial aviation if you decide to have a career in private aviation. Every day is different. Every day is different. Well, this goes for both. We can have interesting colleagues and passengers. Passengers, I would say, in private aviation, it's different because you deal with the passengers every day. In commercial, you don't really. You're in the flight deck. You're behind closed doors, and you come out. Of course, we want to come out and we want to say hello and how was your flight and all that. But private aviation is different. It's very non-routine. Equipment is fantastic. We fly the most advanced equipment.
I just want to say one thing on because I worked at an FBO where the private planes come in. For anyone who doesn't know, where the private planes come in for fuel and parking and stuff. So I had some experience with the private jets and the passengers and stuff. And depending on the type of customer you're flying, because we had anything from like full-on sports teams to just people who owned a company, like CEOs and stuff. But one thing you notice is like if you're in one of these smaller planes, a lot of times you don't necessarily have a flight attendant, for instance. So the pilots are setting up a lot of the things themselves ahead of time. They're making sure that the catering has arrived and is on the plane. They're making sure that everything is to their liking. Like some of the passengers that we had come through quite often had particulars, even as far as like flour. They wanted a certain type of flour, in a small cup or whatever in a certain spot in the airplane, like, so there can be some very particular things that you have to work with as a private jet pilot that you might not think of as a pilot's job if you're flying one of the small planes, especially.
Yeah, exactly true. And which is very interesting and very rewarding as well, working and doing all these different jobs and things. So yeah, thank you, Melissa. Time off, depends on the company. Sometimes if you have a good owner on the aircraft. It can be fantastic, for sure. Disadvantages. You do spend a lot of time away from home. Every time you have a party or, a birthday, whatever, well, not every time, I shouldn't say, but quite often it happens that you cannot make it. So this is one of the things that I had a very hard time. Long working hours, medical flights, they can be difficult. But of course, it depends on the company you work for. If it's a company like NetJets or FlexJet, there's so many companies, very, very nice rosters. So I would highly recommend, applying for these companies if you are interested. Standby duty. Yeah. This is one of the big ones, isn't it? High hurdles entering the industry. It's very costly. And it's especially private aviation. It's very difficult to get into. It's a lot of people say you have to know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody to get into private aviation. Well, obviously, 6 monthly checks, we all have that. Risk of losing medical, we all have that. I just had about a month ago, we had a meeting with some ladies, and I was I met her the first time. Shirley's, and she had just lost her medical, and she had just finished her commercial license. So this is obviously a risk, and we always have to think about this, and we always have to have a plan B and C. So always have something, have a university degree, because I went to flying when I was 18. I went, and then I had my thing, and I went back to school. So I had my plan B and C and D ready. So always be careful in aviation. It's wonderful. It's the best time of my life. But you always need to have, like anywhere else in life, I would say. And these are the negative things for ladies, I would say. And I'm not going to get into this. We can talk about this some other time. But these would be some of the things that actually we are working on very much and hard. So coming back to aviation sectors, I'm just going to go through these very briefly. Obviously, the training EASA and UK CAA at the moment with Brexit has caused a lot of problems for a lot of people, I would say. But I'm just having these private, commercial, and military. I don't have an experience in military. I have experience in private and commercial. Of course, private, you can divide them: jets, helicopters, seaplanes. Nowadays, it's wonderful, isn't it? Drones and eVTOL and everything. Commercial airlines. But for the, I just put it here. For airlines, if you are a startup, if you want to start in aviation as a pilot, for Emirates and FZ is for Fly Dubai, they have fantastic, I don't know if is Nikita talking about airline training?
I think Nikita can answer a little bit more, but I think she's talking more about how she came through it and stuff, right?
Yeah, I can do that. It's my turn.
Okay, great. Yeah. So yeah, Emirates has cadet program. There's cadet programs anywhere, but then Nikita. finish on that. Also Oman, and there's a lot in the Middle East nowadays that are open for everybody, because EK is open only for Emirati nationals. So for the training part, modular integrated training, MPL, so CAN Aviation, I'm just listing some, and the Scandinavian chapter with no Alpha. Yeah. L3 Harris. These three, at least to my knowledge, they do EASA and UKCAA training. So it's very important to know what you're training in, because it has caught a lot of people that with the Brexit. And so for scholarships, and of course, everybody can join, Melissa and Martina and everybody. So WAI, we open applications 1st of July. And please, we just had our first meeting for the applications, and there are so many more. We granted 121.
Jesse's actually here too. Maybe she could also talk a little bit about that, maybe.
Oh, great. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, so I won't spend time. So yeah, 99s, women in corporate aviation, air pilots. The air pilots and air league are more for the UK. So I'm not sure if there's too many UK people, but if anybody needs some more information about UK, you can always contact me. Support groups, Resilient Pilot. I would say that if you need any kind of support, obviously WAI and other groups, but in Europe, Resilient Pilot does do a lot of good things in so many ways. It's mentoring, it's education, scholarships as well. And for the tips, for my part, qualifications and training, if you are a new pilot, try and keep your, obviously, qualifications. We need to keep training, get some extra training, do whatever you can. Do your CRMT, crew resource management trainer, or do something human factors or whatever. Keep your CV very strong. Do volunteer work. I cannot emphasize this more than I became a member of Women in Aviation International in 1996. And at that time, it was very, very young organization. And somebody came to me and they said, would you like to join us? And at that time, I thought, no, not really. And I did join, and it has brought me so much. So the first thing I would say is friendships, connections, networking. It's been wonderful. Job opportunities for sure. Although we don't deal with, in such a way that we'd be dealing with, okay, losing the words now. Anyway, my meaning here is that a lot of the work that I've received in my career has come through connections through Women in Aviation International and the networking. So the networking is so important.
Aviation is such a small, it seems so big, but it's such a small area, and it's all about networking, like who you know, and everyone helping each other, and yeah. So
the networking, this is my last slide here. eBase is there first because that's the next one. Women in Corporate Aviation, who does a lot, and fantastic organization. And then WAI, obviously, in Orlando next time, and Iowa. This is mainly for legal people, but there are many others. These are just a few examples. So thank you. These are my kids. And somebody told me you can't have everything at the same time. I believe you can have everything at the same time if you so wish. Thank you very much. And if there's anybody who want to contact me, that's my email.
Great, thank you. If anyone has any questions, feel free to raise your hand or type them in the chat. In the meantime, maybe we can give just a minute to Jessie, since I saw that she popped up to talk about scholarships, since we mentioned the scholarships, and then we'll go into Nikita's.
Scholarships. You know, WAI, Women in Aviation International, has so many benefits, but scholarships is one that we really hear a lot about, because Women in Aviation International is a place where we have combined, and you don't have to go out and search individual scholarship by individual scholarship. We've been able to bring all of these offerings together for you. So we just gave out our $15.4 millionth this year. That's the lifetime of WAI for our scholarship offerings. But for 2022, and when it was awarded in spring of 2023, we had 124 scholarships that were offered. And the final number was over $890,000. And, you know, Women in Aviation International is here for everyone. And I think that that's one of the great things about our scholarship program as well. You can do air traffic control, you can do manufacturing, you can do maintenance. There are pilot scholarships out there. There's just kind of a general fund scholarship that you come in through and can apply for. So some of the scholarships do have requirements for a US base. I want to say that, but there are a lot of them that do not. And we also have recognized that some of our scholarships only reach that US base. So there is actually an offering right now. There are 7 partner universities throughout the world that we've been able to get together with. One of them there with Melissa, and it's fantastic. So you can apply for scholarships internationally as well. We're really working on getting that international touch point. It's finding the right people and getting the money to the right place and doing those things, because we want to be very mindful about how we do that as well. When we have a scholarship winner, we want them to win the scholarship, not necessarily the place that they're training, and then have some funny stuff happen afterwards. So we're working hard on that. We also have developed a scholarship program for ladies who are mid-level career, because we realize there's a lot of stuff, you know, for those beginners in their career, but what happens when we're already established? What happens when we're there and we love what we're doing? How do we get that additional education and that additional professional training? So this year we were able to offer a scholarship to Harvard University for a program that we have about 31 women that are getting ready to attend this summer. And we're really excited about that. So just one of the benefits. We also have the mentoring program. We've got a Jobs Connect program. I will say that the Jobs Connect program probably does apply more to the US base, because a lot of our corporate members who are the ones that post there on those jobs, they are US based companies. So if you see that, just understand why. We are trying to extend our outreach into the rest of the world, but you know, most of the companies are here in the US that we've been able to connect with. So I thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for this presentation. I'm really enjoying it.
I just want to emphasize that what Jessie said, as far as, you know, a lot of the scholarships are for US based people. The WI has gotten better and better every year. There's more and more scholarships for international people, and yes, some are even only for those that are international and aren't eligible.
That's exciting to see, isn't it?
So that's one of the great benefits of becoming a WI member, having that opportunity.
And then the chapter connection, which
Yeah.
y'all are doing an amazing job. That's my job, by the way. So I'm a little biased maybe, but the chapter connection, which I personally feel is one of the best benefits of WAI, because as Kristina said, you're able to network, you're able to find those people in your circle that are, you know, close initially, but then you start meeting people in the other chapters and making those connections and making those friends. And someday, you know, something's going to come along and you're going to think, who's going to be the person that I'm going to reach out to? And it's one of those connections that you've made.
And it helps a lot when you can meet and get to know people in your area, because some things are very specific to your area. For instance, here in Scandinavia, you know, there are some universities that you can get pilot training through without needing to pay this exorbitant amount of money to get your training done, which is great, you know, but not everyone necessarily knows about those. You know, you always hear about the ones where you go to this flight school and you have to pay hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever. You know, so it helps when you have someone local that you can talk to, get advice from, and hear about these other options and what you can do. Thank you, Jessie.
Thank you.
Well, I'm sure we might have some more questions later. But,
no worries, I'll be here.
I'll go through the questions for Kristina that have popped up quick, and then we'll hop in with Nikita. We have one here. It says, is it a must to be an American citizen to become an airline pilot in the US? I know that you guys have a little more experience with this, but I know it's mostly about what the aircraft are flying under, correct? Like N number versus European versus UK.
So for the citizenship, you can obviously, if I'm talking about myself, I can't go directly. Even I hold FAA license, ATP, and I can't go back to US where I started, and which I call partly my home country for the years past. But there is a huge demand. And I'm not talking about any of the lawyers in dealing with immigration or any of that, but it is nowadays quite easy if anybody's interested in going to the US, which is fantastic and beautiful, and very nice opportunities there. It should be fairly easy to enter the aviation industry, in my opinion. Anybody else?
We actually have someone from the Scandinavia chapter who recently, she was our secretary, and she recently moved to the Portland, Oregon area to do her flight training in the US. So she is starting with her private pilot license right now. And yeah, it is easier. My understanding is it's easier to get a job as a pilot in the US if you have the FAA, like if you are doing the FAA licenses, but obviously you can do, like, for instance, EASA licenses, and then do the transitions and those things. But it also depends on what type of passport you hold. For instance, I know the one from the Scandinavia chapter that moved over, she wanted to jump right into the FAA licenses because she has a Nigerian passport, actually. So it was a bit of a different situation for her in that regard. Did anyone else have any other information on that one, or should I go to the next question?
Nikita, I'm sorry, Nikita, did you have some pictures or something too?
Yeah, we're gonna do Nikita in a second. I was just gonna finish one more question. Yeah. It says, what did you prefer, private jets or commercial airline work?
Is that for me?
That's for you, yeah.
Okay, I enjoyed both. It's two different worlds, totally. Private aviation was beautiful. Commercial aviation, And it depends in which part of the world. I was doing commercial with Emirates, which is totally different brand and totally different world from, coming back to Europe, Ryanair or Air France, or all good companies, all very good brands, but depends what you want from your lifestyle.
All right. You guys can continue to put questions in the chat. We're going to start with Nikita. I'm going to put up some pictures for her here in a second. Let me just share my screen.
Oh,
All right.
all right. So yeah, sorry, I missed the first part of the meeting. So first of all, who do we have here? Just so I know who I'm talking to. Are there?
I know that people that signed up, there was some who, for instance, are just like they haven't done any training whatsoever and just
Okay.
are interested in it. We have some who are in the process of training, and then we have had at least one person who's done training through the ATPL but hasn't worked as a pilot yet.
Okay, so and we're all in Scandinavia?
No, that's throughout different areas of Europe.
Oh, okay, nice, cool. Well, hello everyone. Sorry I'm late. I was busy putting my little one to sleep. My name is Nikita, and as you can see from these nice pictures, I currently work as an airline pilot. I'm 31, so yeah, I don't have as much experience as Kristina. Very impressed. I started my training in 2010, the same year I went, the same year I finished high school, basically, in Norway. So I grew up in Norway, and then I finished high school, and I was really just fed up of school and wanted to do something different. So I thought, let me try and just do the PPL, the first license, the private pilot license, and then just see where I end up. And here I am. So I went, like at the time, there was a partnership school in Oslo who worked with a school in Daytona Beach in Florida, where a lot of people did their training at the time, at least. And then, so a lot of Norwegians went there to do their training. I started on my PPL. I even had a Norwegian instructor over there in the beginning, at least. And I had, the first flight, which was amazing. And you just kind of I just went with the role in a way. And I can't believe how I'm here today. But I managed to, after I finished my PPL, I just wanted to continue. And I went all the way to the like commercial and flight instructor licenses. So I worked at the flight school for a year. And then that was kind of a thing a lot of people did and do, I guess, to get flight hours, because you need hours to get a job. But also it was a good experience, because when you teach others, that's the best way to learn yourself. So I was there for a year before I went back to Norway, and I did my ATPL. One of you guys have done their ATPL, which was not fun. That's 14 exams, but so I guess that's actually the toughest exams throughout the entire pilot's training, because it's 14 exams. But you get through them too. So I did that, and I did the flying part, so that I get also the European licenses. So I could apply for jobs in Europe. And at the time, there were not a lot of hiring going on in Norway, at least. But I wasn't like, I wanted to work in Norway, but I didn't have to. I was ready to go back out in the world. So I did parts of my flying I did in Sweden actually, because it was cheaper at the time than doing it in Norway, and the weather was nicer. And then I ended up in Dubai somehow through contacts. And that's where I think Kristina mentioned the Fly Dubai cadet program, which I guess is still a program where you do your type rating, like license on the Boeing 737. So their thing is you do the rating with them, including the jet orientation course. And then the final check, the final check you have during the rating, one of the examiners from Fly Dubai will sit in the back and observe. So no pressure at all, and he will decide if you get to work in Fly Dubai or not. And this is all self-sponsored, so it's an expensive thing to do. But thank God it went well, because I got the job. But I'll take questions about this more in detail if anyone wants to. Yeah, I started in Fly Dubai. Was there for almost 2 years, I think. Went after the accident in 2016. If anyone's heard of the accident we had in Russia, I decided to try to come back home. But somehow me and my boyfriend, we ended up with jobs. He's also a pilot in Denmark, actually, for a company called Jet Time. And we moved to Copenhagen, and yeah, it was fun. We flew the 73, the same aircraft, and we also flew a lot of cargo 73 for different companies like let's see, SAS, Finnair, I think, and to Thomson, and TNT. So I was there for a year, and then our plan was to stay there, but aviation is so dynamic. So after a year, they had to downsize the company due to financial problems. So we were forced to just apply for new jobs. And that's how I ended up in Norwegian. And my plan was to go to Norwegian short haul, but I ended up in Norwegian long haul. I had just the minimum amount of hours they needed to apply for the job. So I got the job there, and I was there until COVID. And that's where they, again, aviation, they bankrupted the long haul part of Norwegian. And then like a lot of other people, I was home. I had a baby, which was a new, more difficult job than flying. And then after a year, I got a job with North Atlantic Airways, which is where I am now. So I'm based at home and flying to the US. So that's my story. I would like to take questions. I think it's important that you guys get to ask questions so that I just don't talk about
We
things.
have one already. It's from Daria. She says she's 31. She doesn't have flight experience yet. In May, she's starting her PPL course. She's wondering if you think it's too late to do commercial and go that route.
No, I don't think so. I mean, excellent times to get a job now. So if you if this is what you want to do and you're determined to do it and you give everything to it, then I mean, the faster you finish, just get it done and apply for jobs, and I think you're gonna get a job. You have to want to do this 100%. It's not too late. I mean, there are jobs. So if this is what you want, I don't think there's any age limit. I mean, airlines they're desperate. So yeah, not too late, never too late.
I agree.
Good. Did anyone else have any questions? You can write it in the chat, or you can raise your hand. You can ask it verbally.
Yeah,
I'm watching.
anything. No dumb questions, I learned. if there's any questions, the training, where, job, applying for jobs, flying the aircraft, family life. Yeah.
It can all be done, and everything is doable.
I got through it. I mean, I don't know how I got through, but I got through it. ATPL, ATPL was hard. Yeah, I'm being honest. It was hard, and a lot of my colleagues say it. I mean, it wasn't fun. No one likes to do exams, but these are particularly hard. But it's not like you need to know everything. I mean, there's a lot of great tools you can use to study, and there's question banks. So it's not like I read the books. Like one book is this thick. And it's not like I read the entire book, but you just focus on the most important things, and that's what you do for I don't know how long the program is now, but I had it for a few weeks, and that was my life. ATPL was my life for those few weeks, and then you get through it, and then it's done. Then you don't have to do it again. So in comparison with people who do bachelor's and master's degree, this is, I mean, it's doable. So depends.
I would add to that, Nikita, that you don't have to do it again. You might have to do again if you end up in GCAA, DACA, FAA, or EASA, UK CAA, and it's a big mess between the regulations there. So and a lot of people are caught up in with the Brexit. So you might have to go through the 14 exams again. Which I might have to do, and I'm like, oh, okay, who will teach me? Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know the Brexit rules, and I'm more focusing on the European. Yeah, but I think the European exams are way more difficult than like I did the FAA ATP a year ago, and that was a piece of cake. In comparison. So, and also I think I went through it in Dubai as well. European exams are the hardest ones. Now I don't know anything about Brexit and UK, but yeah.
My point is to be careful, everybody, with your licenses, and make sure that you know the regulations.
Yeah, and they keep changing. So.
Yeah, exactly.
There's one who wrote family life. Okay, let's see. How do you all combine having a? Yeah, that's a good question. 128.
I can read it out so that people on the video later hear it. Sure. How do you all combine having a family with flying? I'm 28, soon 29, and still need to start working as a pilot. My boyfriend is a pilot too, started the TR at TUI in Belgium now. I wish to have a family in 5 years. Is that doable if you're a starting pilot?
Yeah, that's fun because my soon-to-be husband is he was also in TUI Belgium. So okay. Well, obviously I'm doing it, so it's possible. It's not always easy. We're still trying to learn how to juggle our lives with the baby. Or he's almost 2, so it helps. Like it was easier for us when we were in the same company, because then the company would try to synchronize your schedules, so that helps. But we're not in the same company now, and what we do is I work 100%, and my boyfriend, he's working 50% part-time. So that's the thing in Norway, you can ask for part-time when you have kids under 12. That's not the same in every country, of course. And you could always ask for them to accommodate. I mean, when you do get pregnant, a lot of people, they just stop flying, which I would do too if I was flying at the time, because you're not pregnant that many times in your life, so you might as well enjoy the time off. And then you have the maternity leave, and that also depends on the country you live in. And then it depends. I mean, if one of you is flying and the other one is home, it depends what you want to do. I wanted to get back to flying because I knew that if I stopped now, it would be harder to come back in a few years. So what's working for us is part-time. It is doable, but it's difficult. Every month the schedule arrives and we sit down and just pull our hairs out, like, how are we going to make this work? But it works because you can swap flights with other colleagues. There's more people, there's a lot of people who have young kids, and thank God we try to help each other. So if there's a flight, like I see those days, my husband's working as well, okay, I cannot work those days, so I'll put it out on a swap group, and yeah, and then if that doesn't work, then you basically just have to ask the company for help, like, look, these days it's not working for me. I'm very lucky in Norway. You have like sick child days, you got a lot of perks, but you find a way, basically. But part-time helps a lot. Was there any other questions about
if
that?
anyone has any questions for either of them, Kristina or Nikita, or any comparison type questions or anything like that. Maybe you can talk a little, maybe you can talk a little bit about how your scheduling works. Maybe there's some questions
Yeah.
about that.
I'm in a new company, so scheduling here isn't the greatest. I feel like the longer a company has been around and with a strong union, the better the scheduling is. So right now the union in our company is working really hard to get us a good schedule. So right now it's hard, but it's a new company, which means startup problems. There's not a lot of flights, which means we don't have a lot of options. So right now there's a lot of long, like I'm away a lot. And that's really hard for me to be away a lot. But I try to make it work. You know, we fly, for example, to New York, and then we fly to Germany, and we're supposed to be there for 2 days, and then back to New York. Then those 2 days I go home on my own expense. So you have to just be a little creative, I think. Scheduling in Norwegian was good. You can put in requests, like I have a wedding in June, I have a birthday in September. You put it into like a system, and then they try their best to accommodate. We don't have a fixed day off system. We have variable rosters, so it could be anything. The 15th of every month we get the schedule for the next month, so we never know before a month and a half before what the next month's going to be. So that can be frustrating with family life and stuff. But if you have an important day, like I have a wedding in June, an important wedding, I don't have any guarantee of getting time off. But sometimes you just have to find creative ways to, you don't want to miss life. I'm not the person who's going to work and not live. So yes, flying takes up a lot of time, but for me it's been decent. I'm away a lot, but I'm also home a lot. So
I do remember Serena, who asked the question. I do remember seeing a post by another female pilot I think she's in Sweden now, who her husband also, I think her husband also flies, if I remember right. And she did a post about how they work out their schedule and when they need like a babysitter or their family helping them and stuff like that. I'll give you a list. I'll send you a list of some of the female pilots that talk about things like that on Instagram, for instance, so that you can look through their posts about that as well. I know she showed something where it was like, here's my notebook here, like with the calendar and different color coding that they do. And you know what this color means, that we need someone to watch the child all day. This is one where we just need half a day. And so it takes a lot of coordination, basically.
Yeah, it does, but it's worth it. Make it work, it's worth it. But yeah, it helps to have family around. But not everyone has that, so you find a way.
yeah, I think I know I've seen at least one who has a nanny, for instance, that helps on the day
Yeah,
set
for
thing.
example, yeah.
It looks like we got another question here. Do male pilots discriminate against you as a female? They're afraid of that issue.
I'm afraid of it. Don't be afraid of it. No, generally everyone's really nice. Of course, we're in a male dominated and you just you get used to working with guys only and the way guys are. I mean, sometimes they comment on things, but they don't really mean it. They just, I don't know, some people get nervous flying with you as a female, but it's never been discrimination, I would say.
Have you seen differences though, depending on like what country you're in, for instance? Because like I've never worked as a pilot, for instance, but when I was like as a student pilot in the US versus, you know, Sweden, for instance, I did see some of these differences where it was a bit more of the macho attitude in the US than in Sweden, because, you know, Scandinavia tends to be a lot more
that's
of the equality and, you know,
yeah,
everything
for
like that,
sure.
but-
You'll have to get used to different cultures. Like the Scandinavian culture is really sweet and really nice, and we very including and very easy to work with Scandinavians. But even though I'm in North Atlantic, I mean, there's not just Scandinavians. There's people from everywhere, like all over Europe, US even, and even during my time in Dubai, I worked with all different kinds of nationalities too. Everyone's different. I think it's a cultural thing. Some people, I mean, a lot of guys are just macho. You do the flight and then you land and then you go home. That happens a lot. Like I have a bad flight with the person. Doesn't mean that I'm gonna bring it home. You know, it's just we're different. Personalities are different, and the same thing could happen with a female pilot. I flew with a female captain once, and that was, I think, one of my worst flights because she was, we're not a good team. So
I've heard of like some, you know, some women start to feel like they need to compete with each other, in a sense, you know, to get higher or whatever. And part of it might come from the male dominated surrounding, but part of it is just, you know, there's not really a lot of, you know, they might be worried that only one of us can advance or something like that. But I think
we are so few. So we are 5 to 7% in the world in the flight. And you know, coming back to captaincy, we're about 1 to 2% in the world. Senior trainers, 1% in the world. I didn't know this until last year. I took part in one university questionnaire and ended up in it was quite a big thing. I think it's they have come up with the conclusions, which I cannot share at the moment because I don't have them, but very interesting. And I never knew that all these things, like 1% of senior trainers, how can that be? Because I would think, and Nikita, I'm not sure if you would agree, but when, you know, we fly, we want to share our knowledge later on, or it doesn't have to be later on. It can be during the career, becoming trainers, senior trainers later on. Why is it? And I was, like I said, a big surprise to me that there are not more senior trainers in the aviation industry.
And I think that's a big reason why, like, WI is, you know, we want to have a community, and, you know, it's also why we aren't just about pilots, we're about all of the aviation industry, because we all have some of these similar things come up, and it's to be able to talk to each other. How do I deal with this? You know, is it just me? Is it, you know, something, you know, whatever. But we're here for support, and we're here to help each other, no matter what we come across.
Yeah, and it's embarrassing that we're I mean, I think we're 4 pilots,
Yeah.
female pilots. So it's, but I mean, most of the guys, they think it's really cool to fly with me or other female, because they're like, oh yeah, because you guys are so much better at multitasking. I mean, obviously we're better pilots now. But,
Yeah. And it's great that WI is also, I mean, men, for those of you who aren't part of WI already, men are welcome to join WI as well. We do encourage men to join as allies to show their support and to help to get past these barriers.
Definitely.
I know there was another question, how to become an airline pilot apart from self-financing for the license. I think this is a lot of like, there's a lot of scholarships. I mean, there's not a scholarship that covers everything 0 to the end, of course. I mean, there's different programs, which you guys I'm sure can talk about, but you know, you're going to have to apply to scholarships at different levels, for instance.
And there's universities, like there's a university in Norway, and you get support from Lånekassen is government owned, like
yeah, same with Sweden. There's a couple in Sweden that you can go to. The thing with that is that, you know, if you're not from Scandinavia, like at UIT, University in Tromsø, and Trafikflygskolan, the University in Lund, they require you to have knowledge to be able to be fluent in Scandinavian language, unfortunately. So if you're not from Scandinavia, you know, it's not something that's as easy for you to apply to, but there are some options like that, depending on where you are.
It doesn't guarantee you anything if you have your university degree and you fly in between. I don't know much about these degrees because I did my 2-3 degrees in between already in jobs, but it depends. I'm sure, and like I said, you always have to have plan B, C, D, and everything in aviation and everywhere in life, I would say, to guarantee. You never know what happens.
We just want to say goodbye to Jessie if she's still in. She's leaving if she hasn't left already. But does anyone else have any questions?
I think there's some.
I know there's some comments from like Jessie and stuff. I don't see any other specific questions, but if anyone has any other questions about the pilot side of things with Kristina or Nikita, or if you have questions about WAI, you're welcome to ask any of those. And if you have a question that you want to ask about WAI specifically, that you don't want to ask at this moment, you can stay after the meeting. I'll be sticking around after the meeting as well for anyone who has any questions about that.
I have a quick question to Nikita. As
Yes.
a young pilot, how do you encourage ladies into this field?
As a young pilot, yeah. Well, first of all, I think it's like I said, it's embarrassing that we're not more female pilots. I wish there were more. It's such a fun, dynamic, exciting. It's never a dull day at work. We have a difficult job, but we have an amazing job. It's the things you see from the aircraft are things normal people would never get to see. You get to travel, you get to become this person you never thought you would be. I was just talking about this the other day, that you get to reflect so much more. It makes you such a good person, because you make friends all over the world. I mean, we're flying aircrafts. It's really amazing that we have come this far. It's I think it's for like passengers and family, friends, they are always telling me, but how is it possible that a girl, not just a girl, but you, like how can you fly these big aircrafts around? Isn't it heavy? I mean, isn't it, it's like we're picking up the aircraft and then flying it. But understanding the systems, understanding what we do is something even we still have difficulty explaining to family and friends what we actually do in the aircraft, with all the procedures, all the mentalities, all the checklists. I think it's even like for me, it sounded really difficult. It sounded impossible. I don't know how I ended up actually going to the US and actually starting on the PPL, because saying being a pilot sounds like, oh no, you have to be the best at maths and physics and this and that. You have to be the best student coming out of high school. I hate maths. I suck at math.
Me too.
And but that's not what, like, there's this misinterpretation of what you need to become a pilot. It's just one thing in it, and that's motivation. If this is what you want to do, then I mean, anyone can do this. A lot of people say, no, you need to do this, it helps to do this. Of course, a lot of things help, but the best thing is just to be motivated and don't give up along the way, because there are going to be struggles, but in the end you get to do this really, really amazing job. So yes, it does sound impossible, and it seems impossible along the way, but in the end we have this amazing job, and I still can't believe I'm flying the Dreamliner. I never intended to fly the Dreamliner or long haul even this fast. I started when I was 28 or something, I think, and I just love it. I love flying long haul. It's long flights, but the sights I've seen, the people I've met, it's amazing. So yes, please, we need more female pilots.
It's a passion. It's a passion, like Nikita said.
is.
We don't, of course, everybody's always talking about STEM. It's important,
Yeah.
of course, but I hated math and I sucked at math. And but it's a passion, and if you have something, if it is passion enough, you overcome the hurdles there. Okay, I'm just talking about math. I do realize that that finances are a big issue for a lot of people starting up. So, but that's what we're working, with the scholarships and everything to help everybody who's interested to get into this wonderful aviation sector.
Yeah, and I mean, I had to pay for everything myself, with some help from parents, of course. But I'm still paying down on my loan, but it's worth it. I mean, our salaries are better than normal jobs, so it's not like we're struggling even with the loan. I would say even with the huge amount we have to pay for the training, it's all worth it in the end.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah.
Great.
Any other questions?
I don't see any others. I'm going to put up the social media PowerPoint again, and people can still put in questions if you have any. Just do that if you would like. Otherwise,
Hi, Melissa. Can I ask some question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Saida. I'm one of the members of WAI, like last 3-4 years. It's nice to hear from Nikita and Kristina. Thank you very much for sharing all your experiences. I had a lot of questions actually, but I'd like to take this opportunity to ask a few. As Nikita was saying a few minutes ago, that it looks impossible in a stage, and I'm in a stage in between that. It seems impossible for me now. I had a like CPL license from ICAO, and I also did my flight instructor training, and I had few like 900 something hours in single engine piston. But now I'm trying to convert my CPL, ICAO CPL to EASA, and doing my the ATPL theory, the hardest 14 subjects. It seems quite impossible now, but I hope I'll finish it. But I don't know what I'll do later because of the flight training and everything, you know, because I don't have any multi-engine experience. I have only single engine, and I don't know if I can convert with this experience or not.
Where is your CPL from? Which
From Bangladesh, it's ICAO CPL.
okay, yeah. And you want to convert to EASA?
Yeah,
And where do you live?
I'm right now in Stockholm.
Stockholm. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is it the exams that are kind of stopping you, or is it the whole thing?
Exam I will finish, but I'm thinking after that when it comes to flying part, because I have talked to a few school and they're saying the conversion course is on multi-engine, but I don't have any experience on multi-engine. I flew only single engine piston.
Okay, so after you finish the HPL exams, you have to do the flying part, right? In
Yeah.
order to get the CPL.
Yes, license. Yeah.
And that's in a single engine aircraft.
Is it possible to do in single engine here?
Okay. And then after that, after you get the CPL, I mean, that's when you start applying for jobs then, right?
Yeah.
That's
You
when
have been in contact with the NAA, and what do they say with the single engine?
They say their conversion course they do only in multi-engine aircraft like Diamond and those aircraft.
Would it be possible to talk with any other NAA?
Saida, have you talked with only the school, or have you talked with transport citizen?
No, I didn't talk to this transportation.
I would say try to talk with transport citizen on what their rules are, I guess, is kind of what
Because they always think that CPL comes with multi-engine, but I never flew a multi-engine. That's the problem. Oh.
Yeah, I would how about you and I can talk after, as I mean, obviously we know each other. You and I can talk after as far as some of the ideas for Sweden. I have a couple ideas of who you can ask questions
Oh, yeah,
to
sure.
with between transport students and for instance, like a different flight school to see what, you know, that's a little smaller than the one you're going to right now. And we can see if we can come up with some ideas for you in that regard, as far as single engine versus multi-engine.
Yeah.
And after that, when you finish, I mean, then you have to start looking into cadet programs, or there's second officer positions, positions where, yeah, you don't need a lot of hours, and yeah, I'm not sure what the requirements are now, but there are a lot of opportunities going on right now.
Yeah, I hope so.
It's a good time. It's a good time to enter. Very good time. A lot of for pilots.
Yeah. So don't give up now, because it's a good time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Martina,
Yeah, what I just wanted to say, what Kristina mentioned already, I think it would really be worth looking into other national authorities, because from my experience, unfortunately, EASA is not the same EASA everywhere, and national authorities have very different requirements. I know there are some that, for example, don't let you convert at all, but there are some that have much easier rules to do so. So if that's an option for you, I would try to investigate a bit further, even outside Scandinavia, if there's a national authority that lets you do it under different conditions.
Yeah, I know Saida has a little bit of a special situation that I know a little bit more about, but I know what you're talking about, Martina, as far as I saw a few of these suggestions as well regarding other countries within EASA. I can pass those along to Saida as well.
Okay.
Did we have any other questions from anyone about anything we've talked about today, or anything related to pilots or to women in aviation. All right.
This is
Well,
your chance.
Yeah. Oh, we have one here. Are those cadet programs only for the locals?
No. Or I mean, and
It
the
depends
Dubai
where you
thing,
are.
yeah, it depends. But the Fly Dubai is for everyone.
Emirates is for if we're talking about Emirates, it's UAE citizens at the moment. But after my ex-boss, I think I mentioned Martin Mahoney, he is taking over at EFTA now, and I'm not quite sure how it's going to change. But there are others, like Nikita, Oman, and others who are open to everybody, like Air Arabia. And there are very, very good programs there.
So you just have to find something and start there. You can't be too picky in the beginning. You just have to get started and get some hours, and then you can choose where you want to go after that. So even if it's a place where you don't really want to go, just go and get the job and stay there for a little while, and then just get going in a way. It's better than waiting.
It looks like she's also wondering about if there's any in Northern Europe.
There are, but I think those are a little bit more locally, like Scandinavia, Norse, but I think you need to know one of the Scandinavian languages.
Really?
Not sure about KLM and
Air France KLM, they run really nice programs, but yeah, I don't know for the initial part. Starting up, Nikita, you probably know more.
For KLM and Air France, I think I'm not too sure, but I'm pretty sure you need to know one of the languages there as well. But I know a lot of people who only had like 200-300 hours who got it in there. So it seems a lot of airlines like that you know the language. So first you start with the cadet program and then become first officer. Yeah. Depends a little bit on the airline. You're a cadet or a second officer first, and then for a certain amount of time, like up until, I don't know, 500, 1,000 hours, and then you become a first officer.
Yeah, and after 1,500 hours, then depending on the MPL program, you are get your, it's frozen ATPL nowadays, isn't it? And then you get your ATPL, and then you can choose more. You have more choice on the work.
It's a bit tough in the beginning to get started into this industry. It's tough with the first job, but once you get going after the first job, it's a lot easier. And with the Fly Dubai gig, that's called a second officer program, and that means that you're still sitting in the first officer seat and doing whatever a first officer would do with the captain, only that you get paid half the amount. So that's the second officer for them. But a second officer in here in North Atlantic, it's a pilot who only flies after like on cruise. So they don't take off on land. So it depends.
Is there any other questions? I'm not seeing any others that have already been put up. Again, you can put it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself or raise your hand to ask the questions.
Is someone who got LASIK eye surgery, I mean, I know that health is a bit tough topic to talk about, but is it possible for someone to get LASIK eye surgery and then to still obtain medical license?
It depends how what your surgery is. It's much easier nowadays than when I started years ago. Surgery eyes. I've had a colleague in the Middle East who actually lost eyesight on the left left side or right side on, I don't remember, but anyway, he lost eyesight. He lost his medical just due to a very, very simple reason that our doctor made a mistake. And but he regained his medical after 3 or 4 years. So it depends, and it depends on the medical, and also on the authorities as well. So depending on where you are again.
As someone, I actually have personally had LASIK twice in my life. I had it in 2008 for the first time. When I was looking at the eye chart without glasses on, I literally couldn't see letters on it. And I had LASIK eye surgery. I also had astigmatism. I had LASIK eye surgery, got to 20/20 vision, actually better than 20/20 vision, and then it slowly went back to 20/20. And then I had it again in 2016, I think it was, because my eyesight was starting to go again. Because your eyes are always changing. Like it's not something that's going to just go away when you have LASIK eye surgery. So I had basically a touch-up surgery because I was getting to that point where I was going to need reading glasses, for instance, or potentially glasses for all the time if I was needing nearsighted stuff. I can say that one of the things that I have issues with personally is my eyes get dry really easily. So I always need to be very mindful of using eye drops, like gel eye drops to keep moisture. It's like my eyes will really easily feel like there's scratchiness and like something in my eye. And that's usually just because they're dry. I need to take fish oil supplements all the time for it as well. I also have issues with a little bit of, like, I can always tell when I'm really tired. My eyesight gets a little bit blurrier when I'm tired, easier than it did before I had surgery. And then also sometimes it's not as bad as it could be, but you can sometimes get like the halos around lights when you're like driving at night, for instance. I don't get that so much, like a little bit of haze, maybe a little bit of haziness to the edges of it, but it's not like a halo effect fully. But I'm always, if I'm flying, for instance, I always make sure that I'm wearing good sunglasses that are appropriate for this, which all pilots of course do, but I'm extra mindful of it as a person who's had LASIK because of these different eye strain issues and things that I've had. What I've been told a lot is that the people who are most concerned about if you've had LASIK are military, for instance. But yeah, of course, if you're needing a first class medical, which is the most stringent medical, at least in this, I don't know, I'm assuming it's also called first class here in Europe. But yeah, if you need the most stringent medical certificate, then you have to tell them, obviously, either way, no matter what medical you're getting, but they'll do the checks, and they'll be maybe a little more stringent on how much of checking they do with the more strict medical licenses. So that's from my experience personally.
Why are hobbies so expensive? That's a really good question. Because our work or our job is our hobby as well. And that's not, for most people, they don't bring their jobs home, but we do. We actually, some of us, I mean, we even fly during our spare time, like smaller aircrafts. A lot of people still do that. But yeah, it's worth it. And Kristina mentioned the seaplane rating, definitely something every person on this planet should do because it's so much fun and it's just amazing. I can't even explain how amazing it is to land on water. So definitely recommend it.
It's fantastic, yes.
Yes.
And there's actually there's so many different ratings that someone can get, like additionally to like make themselves a better pilot, you know, whether it's seaplane or tail wheel endorsement or some aerobatic flights. I mean, all of those are really good things to throw in there.
Yeah, if you want to, of course, if that's what interests you. So it's important to have a good interest in flying. Almost wanting to do it.
And everything is always a plus. Whatever is your passion, whatever it is always a plus on your CV.
Definitely.
All right. Any other questions? Last chance.
That's all.
All right, well, thank you everyone for coming. Like I said, we'll put this up on YouTube very soon. Just follow our social media for updates on when it's up. If you have any questions, you're always welcome to send us an email. If you have questions that you want to talk about right away, you can stay after the meeting, and I can, as far as like joining WAI, for instance, like the exact instructions or something like that, you can stay after. But otherwise, we hope to see you on another online event and activity soon. We will be having a few in May, it looks like, and we're already planning June as well. So keep a lookout for those. And thank you, Kristina and Nikita, for today and for answering all the questions.
If anyone wants to email questions later, that's also a possibility.
Yeah, you can send them, and if they come to me, for instance, to Scandinavia Chapter or whoever, I can always forward them to whoever is the one responsible for that. I will put up one last time the contact information for the 2 chapters. So you guys can follow on social media or send emails, and we'll make sure the right person gets the right information. Thank you all for today.
Thank you. I hope everyone here is a future captain.
Yeah, I'm sure maybe some of you will be flying together in the future.
Yeah, hopefully.